Hey, this is Casey, your friendly neighborhood RA. As you know, my life consists of coffee, Charlie, and the cauldron. Throughout my time this year as an RA, I've definitely learned more about myself as a person. I've come to notice strengths and weaknesses as a human being, ones that I haven't really taken notice of before. For those that somehow don't know this, I tend to usually have a lot on my plate. Between managing the cauldron, interning at Cleveland Magazine, and being lucky enough to work in res life, I sometimes manage to squeeze in working at Sung's house and passing my classes. However, I wouldn't change my commitments for the world. I've learned more about prioritizing in my life, especially when I consider my multiple jobs in leadership on and around campus. I really do feel grateful for the opportunities that I've had, as I know so many people want them just as much as I do. So I don't want my work here as an RA to go to waste. I have learned that it isn't always about pleasing someone, but making the decisions that need to happen, even if it might upset a friend later on. It's important to remember that students are human beings and deal with just as much as you do. So it's opening that door when someone knocks and not turning them away when they need to talk, even if you have something big to study for the next day. Not everything is easy with this job because it tests who you are just as much as it tests your skills. You can be great at making people laugh every time you speak with them, but be trash at crafts and organization. For me, it's more along the lines of being good at the visual side of things, like bulletin boards and door decks. But when it comes to taking the initiative to tell people, hey, you should probably tell pro staff about this, that was definitely a learning curve. And that can be said in regards to both my fellow RAs and residents. I like to think I can handle everything thrown at me, but that is not always the case for everyone. So this job has tested me in a way where I have had to learn to step back and tell my residents, well, hey, this is something that I know you have an issue with, but these are the reasons behind it. Does that seem unfair? Sure. But your years of living here are not forever, and keep in mind that policies are here to keep you all safe. Or, hey, friend, you should probably talk to Rebecca because this is too heavy for you to deal with alone. Taking a step back from things is not something I'm used to. I fix things. I help people. A couple pro staff members know firsthand that learning to step back and ask for help has been a process for me. But aside from all of that, I do consider myself to be pretty good when it comes to building relationships. The bonds I have formed with my coworkers here are irreplaceable. The memories and moments that I have shared with residents is something I know I wouldn't be able to get anywhere else. Just the other day, one of them asked me if people actually came to my room to talk and hang, and I was like, oh yeah, all the time. And she turned up a few days later, and we hung out for about an hour. I've hung out with residents outside the halls, shared details about who I am, made myself seem human. One of them actually joined my staff on the cauldron recently, totally fine at the idea of having me be a big presence in 2 areas of her life. I am proud to say that throughout my time at Cleveland State, I have maintained all A's and made the dean's list. I've learned how important taking a mental health break is, and I pass that along to my friends on a daily basis, as well as my residents. I would continue that as a mentor if I returned as an RA next year because we all need to take time for ourselves every now and then. Plus, I love the idea of being the helping hand to a new RA. I know how grateful I was to have Pete, even as quiet and stoic as he is. He pretends to be cool, but we all know that he's a softie. While I'm nowhere near as quiet as Pete, I do have that compassionate side that he has, and I want to show a future mentee that yes, this job is hard, but it's not impossible, and they are here for a reason, just like my mentor did with me. Communication. Considering my major, it would be pretty sad if I wasn't good at communication. I am fairly diligent when it comes to emailing pro staff back, and I said fairly because I know that I have been late with responses once or twice. But if I have questions, I know what to do. I don't wait around for an answer. I've already learned my lesson in that regard. Shout out to that one time where some RAs were supposed to put up posters at desks advertising an event and didn't put the location and time. It wasn't even my event, but I went and fixed them because no one else would. Or when an event I was on with someone wasn't communicated on enough, and the night before I got a somewhat upset phone call from a fellow RA who wasn't happy with my work ethic. In my mind, I was putting forward work and pitching in, but in their eyes, it wasn't enough. Clearly, talking about those jobs ahead of time would have saved us both some stress. So this job has definitely shown me that even if the smallest thing that seems super easy hasn't been stated, just say it out loud. Odds are someone else is wondering the same thing. Programs are a part of this job I fully enjoy, but know I can grow better at. And after my evaluation last semester, I am working on that. I've joined forces with only 2 RAs on things instead of multiple RAs for this semester for programs that I can definitely show more of my strengths in. Last semester, my academic program didn't go as well as I had planned, which is fine, but the lack of response to it was disappointing. I had prepared well, but I don't think I prepared enough. But on the other side of that, my program I was on with the sensory journals had gone tremendously well. The feedback was so exciting. Last semester, I slowly started to do things that residents wanted to actually participate in. Having events that appealed to more than one gender was a big thing. Now, taking that step forward, I'm focusing on things that will support my community as a whole. Like next week when I hope residents join me for the women's basketball game to support the girls on our floor. Full circle, all the way back to time management, I've learned a lot. Like not waiting to do things last minute because of being tired or being busy. Everyone is busy and has a lot going on. So it's remembering that sometimes people forget things, myself included, but to make a note of your priorities. For me, that's writing things down constantly in my planner or else I'd collapse. I try to remember that when issues pop up, even when I'm on call, that if something gets written up for a policy violation, like housing an underage resident, I remind them why it's not okay. Of course, I document it, but I talk to them like they're human beings too. Yeah, you broke a policy and I need to do my job, but I know mistakes happen. If it's a repeat offense, this would be a different conversation. But keep in mind, every rule is there for the good of each resident. In this case, I explained to this resident that his underage guest was not allowed in the building, and as sorry as I was that he had driven here for a couple hours, this was something we couldn't overlook. He had options of places nearby to stay at. He wasn't going to be drunk and driving. He wasn't a danger to anyone or himself. As we walked to his car, I explained that as frustrating as it may be on their end, it's just what everyone has to follow. In return, I got smiles and laughs as they said that they weren't mad and understood that I needed to do my job. This semester, I'm looking forward to doing what I started last semester and taking charge of different ideas. I helped people with bulletin boards, I gave them advice on programs, aided in what I could do, and never wavered on my own obligations. I like getting involved and making it known I am here for anyone who needs it, inside and outside of res life. So far, I think that's going pretty well. Hi, Pro Staff! So, when I first decided to make this video, I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do with it, but I had mentioned it to some residents, and Tony wanted to just put a little thing in, so I just wanted to do a disclaimer that I didn't coach him, and he sent me this, and I just wanted to put it in since he put in the effort, so yeah.
I'm glad I got to have Casey as my RA this year, because in the process I've made a new friend.